Andre Berto versus Shawn Porter this Saturday, Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, for the right to face Keith Thurman Jr. So let's look at the tail of the tape. Andre Berto, 31 wins, 4 losses, 24 knockouts. 69% knockout ratio. He's 5'8", has a 68.5-inch reach, and he's 33 years old. That's Andre the Beast Berto. Then you got Showtime Shawn Porter, 26 wins, 2 losses, 16 knockouts, 1 draw. 55% knockout. He's 5'7", 69.5-inch reach, and he's 29 years old. So Andre Berto's been in there with Luis Collazo, Juan Urango, Carlos Quintana, Victor Ortiz twice, Jan Zavic, Robert Guerrero, Jesus Soto Carras, Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Josecito Lopez. Shawn Porter has been in with Keith Thurman Jr., Julio Diaz twice, Ray Robinson, no, not that one, but the new Ray Robinson, Paul Malignaggi, Devin Alexander, Kell Brook, and Adrian Broner. For this fight, I don't think I can use the excuse of one guy's resume being vastly better than the other. If you want to give Berto the slight advantage, I don't have a problem with that. So let's just say that Berto has maybe a slightly better resume, if you will, but more mileage. And let's just say that Berto's right there behind him with the resume, but he's a more clean or a more polished or a newer vehicle with a little less mileage on it. Both guys are enrolled in the VADA program, for the record, the WBC version, that is, if that matters for anything. I'm skeptical. I'll leave it there. So what do the guys have to do to win? What does each guy have to do to win? Well, Andre Berto has been excuse me. Andre Berto has been besieged by pressure fighters in the past. Victor Ortiz brought some pressure to him in that first fight. Robert Guerrero kept the foot on the accelerator all night with him. Luis Collazo did also to an extent. So Berto's going to have to prepare for that. I believe that Andre has to mark his territory early in this one. He's the underdog, and he's been in his share of wars, and he isn't the fighter that he was in the past due to those fights, and also because of wear and tear on his body. Berto has to try to work on his timing, whether it be taking a step backwards before he throws in order to land a clean shot, or whether he has to do it by turning and countering with his hooks and his money punch, which seems to be the uppercut. Because of the pressure, he may have to find himself taking a step back. Sometimes for defensive purposes, other times to set up his offense and catch Porter. Catch him coming in sometimes. For Porter, the plan is simple. He's seen the tape of the aforementioned guys who apply pressure to Berto. So it's simple. Apply pressure from the opening bell. I mean, as soon as the bell sounds to begin round one, I can imagine his father yelling, "Go get him!" What Porter is going to try to do is break Berto. Break his will. Force him to go back to his corner after each round and think long and hard about coming out for the next round. The key for Porter is when he gets Berto on the ropes, which I see happening, don't smother your punches. I just don't get why he does this every time he fights. Porter will pin opponents against the ropes. Then he tries to get off. But sometimes, well, no, all the time, smothers himself, and which prevents him from doing as much damage as he could. I'm absolutely shocked that this hasn't seemed to be fixed at this point in his career. Now, maybe it'll get fixed this fight. Maybe they've been working on it. But I see him getting Berto, especially as the fight goes on. If it does go on, I see him getting Berto to the ropes. So let's see how it plays out on Saturday. But I talked about Berto taking a step back. Porter, when you get guys against the ropes, stop smothering yourself. Take a step back. Get some extension on your punches and go to work. It baffles me. It really does. And then you have the other times where Shawn seems to punch from a distance that's out of his range. So it's like you're either too close or too far, dude. What that does, and here's a key for Berto, it causes Porter to kind of reach a little bit, sometimes even bending over. This is where Berto's money punch, the uppercut, can turn the fight into a victory if he can time Porter and land it. Now, on Saturday night, if Berto is on the money with his counterpunching, this could be a barn burner. It really could. That's what it boils down to. Because Shawn, he's going to give up some things defensively while he's trying to create his offense. So if Berto survives early and the fight kind of slows down for Berto in his head, his internal clock, where it's like, okay, I'm starting to see things now. Even though the guy's coming to me at the same rate, same speed, the fight's slowing down for me a little bit. If that happens, we're going to have something on Saturday night. I'm telling you. Shawn can be hit. Shawn can be hit when he's coming in. He's coming in reckless sometimes, and he can be hit. And Berto has that kind of power that can send a message. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, when they're on the inside, I seem to remember, and I have to go back and watch the fight, but I seem to remember Louis Collazo, because Collazo did it to Ricky Hatton too, and I think he did it to Berto. Louis Collazo did some work on the inside on Berto, and he didn't know how to handle it, and so that's something that he's not comfortable with. Porter is. If I'm Berto, I try to get that jab working. I try to stop Porter in his tracks at certain points in the fight. I mean, I would say stick and move, but it's the move part I'm afraid Berto will be unable to do. That's just not him. Shawn Porter wants a phone booth fight, and that's not really Berto's strength. I mean, there's some things he can do, but what Berto needs to do is land the straight right and follow it with the left hook. Okay? I think that might be a combination that can work for him. But he needs to set it up off the jab. And I don't mean as a combination, like a three-punch combination where you're jab, right hand, left hook, jab, right cross, left hook. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about use the jab effectively. Not as that three-punch combination, but keep using the jab. And then when you see that he's reacting to your jab, even if you feint or if you actually throw it, then you kind of lure Porter into that big right cross, big left hook, Kelly Pavlik style, but faster. I think Andre's going to have a hard time keeping Porter off of him. And while I think both guys will land some shots that will draw oohs from the crowd, I think it's an action fight, but I honestly think that this one has the potential to be a very sloppy fight unless someone ends it early or gets some knockdowns early. But potentially this could be a sloppy fight. It could be a good scrap, but it has the potential to be sloppy. Equally, it could be explosive because both guys have many flaws. There are many flaws in each guy that I won't totally cover in this video outside of what I already mentioned. I look for a Porter victory, maybe like 8 rounds to 4, possibly a stoppage also. You know, back in my day, if there was a big fight that ended controversially, the two fighters fought again. Most of the time, immediately. Now, I was at Thurman versus Porter. And if there were 12,000 people there, it sounded like about 8,000 people booed the decision when it was announced. And they continued to boo when Keith Thurman did his post-fight interview. Now, none of those fans had stake in either fighter. None of them are New York. Neither one were New Yorkers. There wasn't a bunch of Cleveland or Ohio people in the house. There was some, but not that many people who booed. They were New Yorkers who came to see a good fight. Half of them like Thurman, half of them like Porter, whatever the case was, but they didn't like the decision, and the fans wanted a rematch. But what they got was Porter taking almost a year off before getting this fight. And prior to that, he took over a year waiting for Keith Thurman after Porter beat Broner. So Porter strikes me as a guy, if he had it his way, he'd fight 5 or 6 times a year. But this will only be his 3rd fight since June of 2015. We're in April of 2017. It probably won't catch up to Porter here, but it will one day if he continues to be inactive. And I think that contributed to him being a little off against Thurman, and probably contributed to Thurman being a little off against Porter. But Thurman seems to do well with all this time off. I have my theories on that. I won't mention it here. I'll just say I won't mention it here. So in this fight, I think Porter's also going to go to the stomach of Berto. And I think when Porter's stamina, his second wind is kicking in, I think Berto is going to start to lose his stamina big time. And I think that's where the fight will be won. Now if he wins, Porter needs to make the Thurman fight as soon as possible. And Thurman has no excuses, as this fight should be a go for no later than September. That should be the latest. Because April, let's see, May, June, July, August, that's 5 months. The fight should be made by September. You get Porter into fighting every 6 months, 7th, 8th, 9th. I think he suffers. So if I'm Shawn Porter, I kind of look at this as a letdown, a bit of a letdown. Not only didn't I get the rematch with Thurman, not only didn't I fight for a year, over a year again, but then you put me in with Berto, who earned this fight by what? Losing to Mayweather Jr. and then beating the comedian Victor Ortiz. I mean, come on. What about Frankie Gomez? What about Jose Benavidez? I mean, how does he leapfrog them in the rankings? But Porter, being the classy guy he is, he didn't complain. But it just keeps running through my head. What if there's an Edner Cherry type decision for Berto in this one? What if Porter truly isn't up for a fight because he feels Berto is kind of like a step down as an opponent at this point? What if he isn't up for this one? If so, does Berto kind of sway the judges down the stretch like Edner Cherry did against Omar Douglas? Don't know. I guess we'll see on Saturday. But I'll take Porter in this one. I just hope it doesn't turn out to be too sloppy of a fight. The co-feature, I really thought that Charles Hatley would be a live dog in this fight with Jermell Charlo in the co-feature. I mean, personally, I had it like a 60-40 fight, Charlo's favor. And I think the scores would have reflected a close one that could have had one card go for each fighter, and then you have the deciding card. I mean, I had this a very winnable fight for Hatley. Then the unthinkable happened. Only in Don King's world. 2 weeks before the fight, Hatley sued his promoter, Don King, who took him from not being able to make any moves to getting him this title fight. He begged for a title fight, hooks up with Don King. King did some negotiating with Al Heyman, and what do you know? Hatley gets a title fight. However, Hatley and his father apparently have some trust issues. And listen, this is Don King. I get it. I understand the trust issues. But in this case, Don King hasn't done anything but help this kid so far. So far. You know, I mean, something shady happens after the fight, then you talk lawsuit or whatever, but he's done nothing. He took you from La La Land or obscurity. I mean, and he brought you a title fight. Why wait until your biggest moment in boxing to sue? You're talking about timing. And it only seems to be his father and him who want to sue. I mean, his manager and everyone else around him are perplexed at this lawsuit. And they're speaking up too. They're like, man, what's up with this kid? The time is just all wrong. And I have to question where Hatley will be mentally on fight night for this one. It's just a bad look. And I wonder if boxing is going to be the only thing on his mind come fight night. So I'm off the board on this one. He still might come to party and give Charlo all kinds of trouble, but I'm off the board on this one. But I do like Porter in the main event. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we catch you in the next one.